French rugby going back 20 years ago. They used to be regulars in first division. Now it was a much bigger division back then, but they have aspirations to get back there, and they're not just doing it in fits and starts now. They're putting a team in place, they're putting coaching staff in place, and they're trying to build consistency in their performances.
And another interesting one really ahead of this is, you know, obviously Grenoble's, as you allude to just there, their pursuit of the top 14 has been brilliant, and obviously the promotion last year, and consolidating that place in the top 14 last year and again this year. But the two of these teams very much, it's been a surprise that they've done so well. 5th against 7th tonight. Yeah, and Stade had a fantastic start to the season, and there's a huge contrast in both these sides. Stade are one of these sides that are actually picking French players, growing French players, and going to be feeding the French team in years to come. On the flip side, Grenoble are just getting in foreign players, and I've been one of those players, and you're under no illusion. You're there to break that mentality of let's just win our home games, and that's why they bring in the foreign players. They bring them in because you don't have that mindset in Europe, you don't have that mindset in Australia or South Africa. You go to win every single game. Yes, the odd game you might be resting players to give other guys a chance, but you certainly don't go to a game expecting to lose, or at very most pick up a bonus point. You expect to win. The voice of Aidan McCullen as Mornay Stain prepares to get us underway, and you had just a minute ago one of those foreign players in your shot, the Grenoble hooker Anthony Hegarty, a couple of South Africans as well in that Grenoble pack. As we get underway, and a fumble straight away from the kick-off. Julian Cameron
just play the touch lines.
The problem with this wind, it's not consistent, it's gusting, so you know, when you kick a ball, it might be totally still, and then suddenly it picks up.
First scrum within the first minute. Harrison, Taylor and Kobilas against Parr and Stevens, and not CJ van der Linde but Leo Halibutau.
Number 2 early.
Brian Smith did have a word with Tim Wigglesworth, as he said he did today. The referee's immediately on the case of the London Irish scrum, and it's Jimmy Stevens who's been picked up for going in too soon.
Sale choosing just to reverse the put into the scrum. No benefit in having a short arm penalty in the middle of the field in these conditions. They want to build something, attack, tie some of those forwards into the London Irish back, and have a look at this London Irish front row for real. With Brian Smith saying before the game that at times this year they've got Ross Harrison under pressure. He's technically a really good scrummager, Ross Harrison, very young, and he's a little bit smaller. That's the problem, and against big props you sometimes just struggle because he comes over the top of you.
The net result of all of that is Sale penalty, and this time Danny Cipriani will aim to use that breeze to his benefit. This is from 50 odd metres, but he's got the gale behind him, the gale that's buffeting from Warrington away to the right hand side. It's about a year now since Brian Redpath gave way to Steve Diamond as the captain of the ship. Brian Redpath concentrating much more now on just the coaching. DOR very much the role now as Steve Diamond, the role of putting the team ahead very much on this young man's shoulders. Well, he's had a couple of kicks in that general direction at the beginning of the match. Kickoff wasn't great, and the penalty lacked direction. Scoreless. Somewhere amongst the Santa hats is Stuart Lancaster, right at the back. He's not got his Santa hat on yet. That sparkly one at the front looks quite appealing though. So Humphreys into the teeth of that gale, looking for Ojo, who did very well to knock the ball backwards where it was picked up by Goff. O'Leary. A meaty old drive, and it draws the penalty.
This man here, 8. Collapse Mall.
Sale accused of drawing it down. It is James Gaskell who gets back to his feet rather quizzically, but they had the devil of a job stopping Leo Halavatau in 5th gear. Again, another indication of the win. No real ambition on that kick, just fine touch and drew up the first line out.
Good gap first,
Played for the best part of 2 months. He's strapping to a hand injury. Certainly had it in training. Probably taken it off now. First test for Jimmy Stevens. Tough for the kickers, tough for the line-out.
Yeah, just good to give him a fast, flat throw at the front, settle him in. No danger of the wind taking the ball, and now they're trying to take Sale on at their own game. Just trying to find that edge, but look who's that working through the middle. Ooh, a bit of a hair pull there from Goff, I think.
Halavatau had possession, and this is Fergus Mulcrone, who is a mini version of Halavatau, just as tough to bring down, and Irish have set up a lovely position here. Ojo is looking for Femby. Ball was intercepted, I think, by Brady. It was very sharp play from Irish, initially in the tight through the forwards and then via the backs, exposing a little bit of space.
Just showing that they're so desperate to score those tries, where Ojo really, I mean, I know it's easy to say with hindsight, but should have held on to that ball, taken the yards, because they had momentum. But look, Goff just getting in, he can't get the man out, so a little grip of the hair and pulls his head away. Are you happy with what we made yet? Thank you.
Last season's Premiership meetings between these two were both notable. Sale finally notching up their first win of the campaign here in November against the Irish, and the return match ended in an extraordinary 33-all draw at the Medeski Stadium. 7 tries, points that are effectively secured Premiership status for both sides this season.
From Harrison after the collapse there, kept his legs pumping even though he's on the floor, just trying to get in the referee's head that he's still trying to scrummage. There you go.
The youngster recently agreed a new contract, former England under 20 prop. Absolutely nothing between them down the Premiership years. Quite cute of Brian Smith-Benn to talk about how he thought Halavatau had Harrison on toast in their previous meetings, just putting little snippets into the ref's mind.
Saying before, Harrison, he likes to stay straight, technically very good, but it's just when he comes across a big prop, just loses out on that weight.
Didn't look entirely straight, and that was the view of the official. Just switching on, by the way, I'm wondering where CJ van der Linde is. He only arrived on Monday, barely trained this week, and when he did yesterday, he just pinged his calf. So his debut will have to wait. And that's the benefit of the breeze. Cipriani riding it there. Oz.
Just looking back to the first choke tackle that Sale attempted, it's a real contrast. This is when it backfires. If you go low there in that situation and take them down, you can then counter-ruck and go over the top and get the turnover. What they do is they all go for the choke. They all go underneath the ball. They concede 10 metres, which is okay if you win and get the turnover, but then if you don't, you concede 10 metres and possession.
I think it was key, the reaction of the London Irish support players when they saw that happening. They just barreled into the back of it to try and knock it to the floor going forwards.
The initial line-up was neatly worked between Stevens and Jeb Sinclair, low and flat and accurate, but Sale burgled possession back. Jennings, who's coming to midfield this evening. Johnny Liotta's not with us tonight. Liotta's broken his jaw again, so young Mark Jennings is playing. This is Jonathan Mills, not missed a match since being plucked from London Welsh over the summer. There's a couple of frustrating penalties that Sale have conceded in a similar area now. Blair Cowan back to his feet.
They're not actually winning the battle of the breakdown on their own ball. Breakdown before, they very nearly got turned over. Some of the backs not quite getting in there quickly enough, and London Irish obviously have it as a ploy to attack the Sale attacking breakdowns.
Thank you. It's not the line, guys.
And you were talking about the work of Michael Patterson in the build-up, Ben, but Jonathan Mills has slotted in beautifully as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just short of support players, and London Irish get 2 men over the ball first, very difficult to shift.
Jeff Sinclair working hard at the front of the line-out, the rugged Canadian. We'll have a doughty scrap this evening with Dan Braid, and once again it's Hallett Afia at the back of the tugboat. O'Leary asks the breeze to do its worst to make it difficult for Cueto, and ball was picked up by Sheridan, but he couldn't hold on to it. This is Peel. Peel against O'Leary, another one of those potentially delicious little subplots tonight, but he's lost possession. Goff goes down to rescue it back. And I think Irish then lose it. Gaskell keeps it in play just before his giant-sized legs were shuffled into touch. Tommy Taylor picks and goes. Drives over the tackle of Blair Cowan. The retention, the protection of the ball, an issue for both teams at the moment. Cipriani, Cueto, popping up, getting it back from Tui Tupu, and then the hit coming in from Mulcrone, who started his career in the Sale Academy, brought up in Manchester, Mulcrone.
Dan Braid suggesting this should be kicked long. I'm not listening to him, they're going into midfield.
When you've got the wind behind you like this, there's no need to play rugby in this area unless it comes off.
Jennings actually does that.
Touched in flight. Touched in flight.
Touched in flight.
That's a huge result for Sale.
Rescued him.
Get the put into the line out as well as the extra gain in yardage.
Mulcrone just running off a little knock. Interesting little statistic coming into the match that set up how they've played so far in the season. Nobody's had more offloads than London Irish. They love playing with the ball in hand, being patient with it. Nobody's kicked possession away more than Sale. It'll be intriguing to see how those tactics are amended tonight, given the conditions. Wind is blowing, to remind those who are just joining us, fiercely from right to left into the faces of the visitors, the Irish, at the moment.
Release now! Wait!
That's Braid working hard to keep possession on the home side, but it's been won by Cowan. Picked it up. Here goes Sheridan. 6'4", 17-stone Irishman. He's made some impact since arriving with Mulcrone from Rotherham. And it's Tui Tupu trying to win the ball back on the floor and doing enough.
Just a mess. Harry.
It's the first 4 weeks of the season with a broken jaw, but just in the swing of it.
Shows how London Irish are attacking this game. Firstly, they come through the line out really well. With Skivington, they turn the ball out, and it looks like they've got Danny Cipriani comes in to help there, but he doesn't go in low enough underneath, and then he disappears as soon as his forwards arrive, and London Irish turn the ball over.
Still got the metal plates from that jaw operation in place. And we're talking a little bit about some issues for Fergus Mulcrone. He's just taken a fair amount of treatment on halfway, but you can see back on his feet now.
Close again, please. That's better. Thank you. It's feeding.
Never played in the Premiership for Sale, despite starting his career here as a youngster. Filled the gap left by Jonathan Joseph in the Exiles midfield this season.
Bind! Set! 3, 2, 3, 4! Anything, Sharpie?
Too far to be sure.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sharpie is Chris Sharp, the touch judge on the far side. Luke Pearce is with us on this near side. Trevor Fisher, the TMO, we haven't introduced him yet. It's Chris Sharp.
Crouch!
Only conceded 1 penalty and 2 free kicks at scrum so far.
It's a really good strike from Tommy Taylor. Missed it originally, but to reach a long way.
Cipriani does well to find Cueto. I think the nod of approval that Mark Cueto gave Cipriani after the performance against Oyonnax last week spoke volumes. That, however, was a hefty London Irish hit. Stopped Sale in their tracks, and Tui Tupu took his eye off the ball. Still, Sale possession. This is Jennings. He's a rugged competitor. England under-20 midfielder getting another go in the Premiership tonight in the absence of Liotta, taken on by Harrison.
Very tight in defence, London Irish. Still just looking to get round the outside of them.
Voice of Luke Pearce confirming that the ball went forward.
Tim, just remind flankers to stay on the flank and not striking the ball.
Massive pressure on Sale in midfield, and it's causing errors. If they don't quite get it right, they are leaving space on the outside for Sale's extra numbers.
Is that more of what you were talking about, Oz?
Yeah, exactly what I was talking about. Nice to see him go to the line, take two defenders on. That's what his skills really stands him apart from maybe every other fly half bar George Ford, because he can really go to two defenders, pull both of them onto him, and yet know full well he's never going through that hole. He's just trying to create space from someone else.
We know that Stuart Lancaster wants him to see him play games, to have a run of games. What else might he be looking at before he thinks about perhaps the Six Nations, maybe more likely a summer tour?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. The summer tour is more likely, unless there's a plethora of injuries to the tens. You know, Freddie Burns talking about leaving Gloucester, not maybe being included. I think he's on the bench this weekend. So he's not going to be playing. For me, George Ford is the guy who's right at the forefront of who should maybe be getting the starting place in that 10 shirt. Farrell and Flood. Farrell very, very consistent. Do England just need something a bit different? If they do, maybe Ford's the guy.
Aviva Premiership Player of the Month, George Ford. And Bath home to Harlequins tomorrow. That Gloucester-Worcester match, by the way, on Sunday, live here on BT Sport. Billy Twelvetree's playing at 10 for the Cherry and Whites at the weekend. There goes Sheridan, who's done so much good work, not just in that phase of the game in his first season at the club. And this is O'Connor, seen very little of the willowy Australian so far.
3 metres inside the other half.
Oh, that's a long advantage. Certainly was a penalty originally. Tui Tupu taking out his man, which meant he couldn't support the subsequent ruck. But they went a full 30, 35 metres after the advantage. There's the penalty. Mulcroney stepped in and took out of the way, and they make the mini break, and they're miles in front when O'Connor loses the ball.
Australia's wayward son, thoroughly enjoying himself up here in the north, however, loving his time at London Irish, talking this week about how he'd like to sign on for a bit longer. It's a lot to do with how the Wallabies diary works out ahead of the World Cup and whether he can afford to spend another season up here perhaps in the Aviva Premiership without jeopardising his World Cup ambitions back home with the Australians. Line out. Not too long. Peel clapping for it. Mills, the Welshman, making sure that he gets it unimpeded. Here goes Brady. Chance to start in the Premiership for him for the first time in 3 months. Peel. Just outside the 22, so this kick needs to be accurate. See how much it's held up into the arms of Cipriani. Fullback, Miller, flings it wide to Jennings, and here goes Cueto. Familiar arcing run.
The referee's called a maul. Somehow Cueto's got to get himself to floor. It doesn't look like he's likely to. Irish trying to keep him infield now so that they get the scrub instead of the risky line out with this win. They do a brilliant job.
Up to 5 Premiership tries already this season. His best ever season ended with him on 9, so might fancy his chances this time round. He's 83 now in total down the years in the league. Currently 10 clear of Tom Varndale. He's opening quite a handy gap between him and the Wasps winger at the moment.
He said when he got the try record that he thought Tom Varndale would catch him before he retired. I don't think that's going to happen.
Crouch! Bind! Set! Yes, 9! straight. Not straight.
Full penalty for the feed.
Sorry.
As a result of the accumulation, it's not the first.
Well, we didn't even see the ball, so it's probably quite a good indication that it didn't go anywhere near the tunnel. Interesting. Sale have chosen to go to touch, build their what has become a famous drive this season.
Hang on, just wait. It's in the way.
Tommy Taylor, recently turned 22, he's from down the road in Macclesfield. You talked to Steve Diamond about the good young players coming through, and Tommy Taylor's always early on in that conversation.
Seymour and Gray working well together there. Hudson in front. Penalty. Got a free shot at it. The penalty's been given their playing advantage.
Still advantage.
Peel with that advantage. Cipriani did well. Goes for the kick that might yet work. Oh, the bounce over the head is fortuitous. Brady was on the ball. Cipriani again.
I'll tell you, the kick obviously wasn't executed quite, I'm sure, how he intended, but the decision making perfect. Knew it was a free shot, knew he could afford to put it over O'Connor, even though O'Connor was in acres of space, because if he caught it, the referee would have come back for the penalty. It bounces in front. It's a bit of a scud, flying all over the place. Really well read from Brady. Doesn't give up on it, thinking O'Connor's got it. Bounces up in his hands.
Sometimes your luck is just in, isn't it? And if you Sale at the minute, it certainly is. As you said, it was a bit of a scud. Right decision, good option, kick to nothing. I think James O'Connor was in exactly the right place. It was just a freak bounce from the wind that beat him.
We'll be having a chin wag about that afterwards. He drills it between the posts. And it's 7-0. Brady's try, but it was Cipriani's imagination. And googly.
Again, created because Sale's driving line out is causing teams problems. They're worried about it. They give away penalties. That gave them the free shot, and they took it.
O'Connor will be plotting his revenge. Of that you can have no doubt. Midway through the first half, it's the home side who strike first. Picked up by Jimmy Stevens, finds Cowan, Kiwi by way of Cornwall and Worcester. Humphreys for O'Connor. Starts the retribution here, perhaps. Eight is Chris Halafia. Humphreys. Once again it's Sheridan. Running ball in both hands. Test for midfield defences. Haskell driving through, driving over the ball, winning the ball back, winning the penalty.
Good defence from Sale.
Touch.
Just watch this from Mark Cueto, using all his years of experience, involved in the tackle, and then just stands there, which means all the London Irish players have to try and come round him. Sale very nearly turn it over, but they do their job of slowing the ball down, and they win the penalty on the far side.
Strong work from Gaskell as well on the floor, though. Still only 23. He's been around for so long, you'd imagine he was older, but 5 years now since his debut. Well won by Mills in the middle of that line-out. The ball was ripped away.
Skivington was having a big game.
O'Leary, Humphreys. The wing is Andrew Fenby. Marlon Yard still on crutches, by the way. He's out until February. Sheridan takes the hit from Tui Tupu. Hacksaw Sam. What he does as well as anybody. Here goes Gaskell again, having been fed by Peel. We're on halfway. Cipriani. Has he got the bounce? No. No. Meantime, Eamon Sheridan is still counting ribs, teeth, asking himself what day it
Nothing
is.
worse, you drop the ball, you're thinking, how did that happen? Oh! And you get about 15, 16 stone exploding through your ribs, just as you're trying to console yourself.
Time off. Got a few bodies down here, we're getting
He's 6'4", this guy. 17 stones, and he's just been knocked off his feet like he's a bottle of fairy liquid. Austin, what have you been beavering away at meantime?
Well, I'm just looking at something else, Nick, but thanks for asking. I was looking at, actually, the foot was out there. That should have been back to where the kick was from. But if we have a little look back to James O'Connor's positional play, he's doing really well, actually. He's controlling the back three really quite well. But just going back to this one first, this foot is definitely on the line when he takes the ball. That is back to where the kick is. So I was seeing too many of these, and as a player you get really aggrieved by them. But again, if we have a look at James O'Connor, I don't know if we'll have time to now, but we'll come back to him in a minute. His positional play, his control of the pendulum in the back three is really quite good.
Stay behind.
Sale have made a change. Phil McKenzie is on for Mark Jennings, whose night is over. Cipriani only brings a bouncing ball to heel. And here is the new man, the Canadian international, summer recruit from London Welsh, Phil McKenzie. Taken on by Mills, and the summer arrival, Haskell to Peel, and this is Kobalas, the Moldovan.
Needed to go that. Sale had a load of numbers out there.
It'll go now. Braid driving through the traffic, holding on to possession. Peel, he's looking as eager as ever these days. He's really got his mojo back. A glint in his eye every time he gets the ball. Oh, and then there was accidental obstruction. Tommy Taylor frustrated.
Really frustrating. No one's fault. Taylor doing the right thing, spotted an opportunity. Man in front didn't realise he was coming, stepped into his path. Good momentum from Sale though. Back's coming around the corner.
Let's go, guys.
Ready for the ball to come out from the next breakdown. And Mills just trying to clear out the path for Tommy Taylor. Steps in his way.
Trying to work out what Sale is doing with Phil McKenzie on the pitch now. And Mark Cueto, who had a spell in midfield at the start of the season, has gone back inside to partner Sam Tui Tupu. He's at outside centre, and Phil McKenzie will be stationed on the left wing for what's left of this match. It just means that Cueto's a little closer to the ball, can wreak a bit more damage, maybe a little bit more often.
Take my side.
The Irish scrum continues to be an issue. Looks to be an ankle issue.
Look, you have to stay straight to start with.
Jennings. I'm no doctor, Ross, but
It was a good guess, wasn't it? What gave it away, the ice or the strapping on his
Which
ankle?
ankle do you think it is, Nick?
I think it might be the left one, Ben. Mate, be sure.
You should go into physiotherapy,
Yeah.
you should.
I might need a second opinion, but that would be right.
Yes, 9.
You haven't seen your ankles for a while, have you? What, 10 years?
You're much closer to yours, Oz, that's the difference. Vadim Kobalas, Moldovan, relishing his, by common consent, his best season at the club so far, really making an impact.
You can see the rain showing us exactly how strong the wind is. Piling down that pitch with Sale at the moment. I want to get some more points and take advantage of kicks like that.
James O'Connor gave that absolutely everything to find touch, which he did. Austin, what have you got?
Well, it's one of the reasons why it's only 7-0, because his positional play and control of the back three, as we were saying earlier, is really good. Look, he shouts at Topsy Ojo, he knows he's out of position and he's central. He can't be too central when it's strong, you have to cover the 15s. He spots that, look how quickly he gets across. No one even knows that kick's going there, but he's pre-read it, he gets across, and a good fullback does not let the ball hit the floor. That's what he's doing really well.
Line out one by Ben's man at the moment, Patterson.
Steele. Now they get the drive on. One of the best times to drive when you've just stolen a line out, because the opposition are still thinking about their ball that they've just lost.
It's a hefty drive that's led to the penalty. Peel with the advantage. Cipriani, Sam Tuitupu. Palms off Humphreys, but then the ball was spilt, so we will come back for the penalty. We're going to have a little lecture, I think, from Tim Wigglesworth. George Skivington on his way.
Starting to mount up now, okay, just think about it, please. Collapsing them all. Wiggler.
Good man to have on
There you go.
the pitch, George Skivington. We see that Declan Danaher does a decent job off it, but Skivington, the leader on match day, all the experience of playing with you guys at Leicester.
We'll need him at his best right now, 5 metres out from their line. Certainly match Sale physically up front in the first 26-27 minutes of the game. Just the last couple of minutes, Sale's forward pack just getting a bit of momentum.
Taylor plucked out of the air by Gaskell.
It's a good shift drive to take away that early defence from London Irish. They get into a good set position, now they're rolling. Ball needs to stay at the back. You see the players like Taylor going past the ball, leaving it safe at the back.
George Skivington is for white. Braid driving it towards the line, and they're over. And somebody in a blue shirt is about to be called a try scorer. And I think it may well be Seymour.
See how they immediately shift the drive as the London Irish defence takes Gaskell out, which means now they can get set up. And now they just develop a little bit of momentum. Skivington has to come in and cheat, get the penalty advantage. They spot the opportunity. Tuitupu comes in from the centres, resets it. He works hard up front. Is it Braid up there?
Seymour. I think gets the try in the end.
The work of Tuitupu to spot the opportunity when it had gone stationary, come in from the centres and become that blocker, go past the ball. That's what made the try.
It's amazing how many mauls you see, Ben, isn't it, when the forwards can't quite get there and a back joins and takes them over the line. That's power.
Yeah, you see about one every 10 years. It's amazing. You think you'd see more.
He scored, he did.
Wretched conditions to try and kick
The thing is that on a night like tonight, when we see what happens to the kick, you can see what a powerful weapon Sale's line-out drive is. They can kick to the corner, cause teams real problems, come up with 5 points like that. Yes, I said weapon, Oscar. Good description.
Terry and June Christmas special. Oh no, it's going to go beyond where it started. It went -3 metres.
I think the wind might have picked up a bit.
Yeah.
See that? That's unbelievable, that.
What can you do?
It was the game in New Zealand where they kicked off like that and it actually went dead behind his own goalpost. It's not quite that bad yet. I think we might see the ball when it's being kicked from left to right, not going up in the air as much from now on.
Crouch! Bind! Set! 1, 2, 3, 4! Yes, 9!
Sale ball off the scrum. Put through by Rob Miller. Continues to wear the headgear that he started to put on after colliding with Mark Cueto against Bath a few months ago.
Big gap. Big gap, fellas.
And it's been all Sale over the last 10 minutes or so. They're just starting to harness this win. They've got some possession, but they're going to have to win it back from here because it's Irish ball for the time being. They really have to work hard for that. It's been charged down by Gaskell, but Tommaso Leary was on it quickly to redeem the situation. So hard to get out of their own half. They can't even do it from restarts.
Well, the angle of the box kick as well is not going to go anywhere. To get it over the forwards, you've got to kick it flat.
Bounces up invitingly for Brady, who's already got one try. This is much more of his own making. Brady, a wriggly little worm, making 15-20 metres.
Huge numbers for Sale on this left-hand side now. The London Irish defenders, Humphreys calling his support over.
And the last link in the chain is Phil McKenzie if it gets that far. Tui Tupu Cueto was overlooked in favour of the Canadian, and in the end it was too ambitious.
Brilliant footwork. Knows that the first defender's the only man on that outside, so he takes the gamble, and then once they're in behind, Sale get quick ball, causing problems in midfield, and then the last pass just too far in front.
So Steve Diamond, Sale leading 12-0. We'll actually have lining up a word with him, but we'll have a chat with him the next breakdown. We'll have a chat with him now because there it is. Steve, what's a decent lead with this wind at half-time, do you think?
Well, I mean, you know, we not took advantage of it in the first 10-15 minutes, but we seem to be doing all right now. Anything in front, really, you know, we've got a good set piece, and, you know, we've got to play that in the second half against the wind. So, you know, confident if we keep playing like we are doing, if we can execute as well as we can, then, you know, we stand a good chance with a 12-point lead.
Any areas where you're noticeably on top? What's getting the biggest tick from you so far? Well,
I think the scrum, and now the referee's picked them up, collapsing the mauls. We seem to be reasonably dominant there, but again, it's you know, we won't count our chickens, just keep going as we're doing.
Brilliant. Thank you, Steve.
Cheers.
Hill to Mills, who pirouettes away from the oncoming impact. Cipriani, Cueto in midfield now after the injury earlier on to Mark Jennings. Cipriani. It was a tackle on his chest from Leo Halavatau, and now it's an Irish penalty, holding on to the ball at the end of all that.
Brilliant from Halavatau to manage to keep hold of Cipriani as he made that tackle. Meant there was no doubt in Tim Wigglesworth's mind. Grabs him with the straight arm, but he holds on, keeps in contact with the man. It's a big shot. A little bit of a swinging arm, but because he held on, gets away with it.
Halavatau playing tonight, but I suspect in all likelihood he'll be the man most likely to see his workload cut once CJ van der Linde is up on his feet. South African World Cup winner due to be starting tonight, but he pulled a calf. Final warm-up yesterday. Once again, Patterson really making a nuisance of himself there.
He's been immense at the front. Almost stole the last one, almost stole this one, but he knows that London Irish are wanting to go to the front.
Halavatau to Cowan, that was neat. Under a lot of pressure. The hands needed to be accurate, and they were. And the run was powerful from both men. It's taken Irish up to halfway. Now they have the penalty. Goes against Gaskell, they're not hanging around. Not much point trying to kick the ball in this breeze. Cowan once again. Stevens. His second Premiership start this evening after joining from Leicester. And here goes Halavatau, who's had a couple of prominent bursts in recent seconds. Humphreys. Scrap for the ball on the floor. This is Matt Parr. Back rower in his days here with Sale. Not necessarily here because they weren't playing here then, but his days with Sale.
This is exactly the sort of rugby that London Irish need to play in these conditions.
Femby did well to turn that ball back. And the hit. Big prop on big prop. Kobalas on Halavatau. Both will be feeling a little warmer right now. Miller. Judged that well, and he's chasing his own kick to make sure that Humphreys is under a lot of pressure. And he finds Peel, who drops it. Oh no.
That's off for London Irish. They're playing so well. A little bit of an aimless kick. And you see what happens when
Tim, it's Trevor.
you kick aimlessly in these conditions. You get punished, but
Tim,
Peel can't hold the ball. They get away with it.
Nine
This
blue
from Kovalas.
blood.
coming in from the blind side as Alafau takes the ball. No, it's too bad.
It's a combination of Afia and Halavatau, a love child of which would be worth seeing, should it ever happen. You'll get the exclusive rights to the story, Ben. We'll make sure of that.
I think you're better off sticking to physiotherapy, Nick. He's played well, Peel. He's played well, Peel, hasn't he? He's been really sharp around the fringes.
These days, Oz. Oh dear.
I hope the wind picks up enough just to take you off your feet and over the M60.
Even
a strong wind, that.
Even Robbie the kit man, with his arms crossed and his legs crossed, looks cheesed up with life. And perhaps that's why. That is coming in horizontally. There's old Robbie. Good lad. He's got a smile back on his face. Takes a lot to wipe it off. Hot. Should Robbie speak Italian?
Yes, 9. Tim, reset.
Voice of Luke Pearce on this near side, the touch judge.
It's not obvious to me, mate, if 3 is dropping first or 1.
The assistant's asking, saying it's not obvious, but just look, as the ball comes in, look at Halavatau, bear his weight down. He's trying to get on top of Harrison. Watch him, as the ball comes in, just bear his weight down and through.
It's his knee that dropped before the elbow does Harrison.
Can you tell me what the point is, though, of resetting when the ball was out?
I totally agree with you.
Yes, 9. 9, get behind.
London Irish probably wanted the reset to run down some more seconds.
They might think that a dozen-point deficit at the break is workable. Hearing from Steve Diamond that he'd be happy enough with that. We'll see. O'Leary, Humphreys, he's not done much kicking because of the conditions. Cueto struggling to gather it, but not Miller.
Play on.
This is Fenley, new season arrival from Scarlets. There's another Welshman who's now playing for the Irish, Ian Goff, 37, now one of the oldest players in Premiership history. Relishing contests like this in weather like this.
First one.
The ball was knocked on as Afia drove it forward.
He's run straight, hasn't he? When he's got the opportunity, he's just picked up the ball and gone straight up the middle. Exactly what you need in this weather. You think if they'd have played a little bit more intelligently for the first 20, that little bad luck as well for the try for Brady, then it would have been a really positive turnaround. I still think, like you, Nick, 12 points in this wind. All you've got to do is keep pushing them back. It's almost impossible to get out of your half.
They did play well in the first 10, particularly at turning over Sale's breakdown, working really hard there, not letting Sale get that early foothold into the game where they could have got maybe another couple of tries, made it really difficult.
Now I know you'd have got your Christmas shopping done by now, so you can set aside pretty much most of tomorrow to watch rugby with us. We will start down in Toulon against Montpellier, and then something with an English accent. Saracens against Leicester from Allianz Park. BT Sport 1 from 2:30 with us. And Gloucester against Worcester. You're free on Sunday, 1 o'clock. All the highlights from the weekend's games as well. And what's becoming an essential hour's worth of television viewing on a Sunday lunchtime. The reaction to the weekend's games, and then Gloucester against Worcester. Freddie Burns on the bench on Sunday. Billy Twelvetree starts at 10.
Can't play on. 10 ball.
Into the final 60 seconds of what has been a raw game of rugby on a Friday night in the northwest.
There's the middle.
Irish will be keen to run down the clock at this scrum, but they've got to be very careful. I know we've seen some dodgy kicks from Danny Cipriani in this win, but with the win behind him, it'll be worth a shot to nothing if Sale can get a penalty. Second time Jimmy Stevens has been done for going early.
Thanks, man.
We talked about Steve Diamond being satisfied with a dozen points, but he may well be going in at half time. A bit of a towel down with a 15-point lead. Just about setting this on its way. Wind swirling around a little bit, but such as the breeze, get the direction right, and this should carry over. See, it's not been easy, however. With the elements, 44 metres between him and 3 more points. It's clearly a tricky old business, even with the breeze, to splice the posts. However, it is Sale who's scored the 2 tries. The first set up by him for Tom Brady, the second a forward Seppert driving over the line, and at the bottom of it David Seymour. Sale lead 12-0. Sarah.
That's it, well, Mike, playing with the wind in that first half, you needed to rack up the points. You got 12 of them. Decent enough return?
Despite the conditions.
I think it's a credit to both sides that when they've had an opportunity, they've played. As the wind picked up in the second half, it affected London Irish. I thought they were really good. The first 20 minutes they matched, probably bettered Sale up front physically. But then as the game went on, Sale upped their gears.
Well, having batted first, let's see if Sale have got enough runs on the board with 12 points. Delaney was suggesting getting out of their own half is going to prove to be very, very tough in this remaining 40 minutes.
Brilliant steal from Taylor.
Oh, O'Connor dealing with the bouncing ball. The pressure from the try scorer Seymour. Tomas O'Leary, Humphreys with the breeze now. Got to get accuracy though. Got to get the direction right, and he suffers an early taste of what Danny Cipriani had a little sip of at the start of the first half.
Just watch this steal from Tommy Taylor. The speed he reacts. Ball's taken, it's won. Maybe didn't retire, but it was open play. None of the London Irish players had got into the breakdown. He just feeds it back to his side. Dwayne Peel takes a risk under pressure. Caused problems for James O'Connor.
Do I need to say it?
Scrum, we got the sharp end of the referee's stick Irish-wise in the first half. Let's see how the first, beginning of the second goes.
Bind! 6! 1, 2, 3, 4! Yes, 9!
That is rock solid from Sale's perspective.
Resets. It's not gone anywhere, thank you. Fair if you both went together then, thank you.
Having won the ball, the ball seemed to get gummed up somewhere between the second row and the feet of the number 8. Jimmy Stevens in the centre of that Irish scrum. More renowned for his line-out accuracy. They have Mike Mayhew, who's a much more percussive scrummager, to come on later on in this second half. So there'll be a threat later as well. Sale have Mark Jones, Lewis Roberts and Henry Thomas, and they're continuing to win the debate in this part of the game.
Not sure whether the referee gives the penalty against Matt Parr, but he certainly folded in there, dragged his opponent's arm with him.
Austin.
Well, just when you've got the wind behind you, you have to kick at the touchline. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but as the ball comes to you, you have to really angle and take a bit off the kick. Whereas if you just kick for ground and kick for distance, this is what happens. So it's something that Humphreys will learn as the half goes on, but Sale didn't have that issue. Cipriani with his left foot always kicked at the touchline, apart from the very first kick at the restart.
See how he deals with this one. Into the teeth of the gale.
How do you keep that trajectory low when you're kicking into the wind off the tee?
You just got to keep your shoulders over the ball and get your weight through the ball. So if, actually completely the opposite downwind, you want your shoulders and your hips to come back and your hips up and through, whereas into the wind, shoulders really far over the ball, as if you were hitting a golf shot from the back of your stance.
Danny Cipriani, 1 from 5 so far. Both main kickers this evening running at around 70% for the season so far, but the season so far hasn't been played in conditions like this generally. Peel to Taylor. This is Kovalas, keeping Henry Thomas on the bench for the time being. And here goes Dan Braid.
Taylor covering in this time. They're working in pods, just zigzagging, reversing back down the blind side.
It's a real test of their accuracy in possession in this second half. Every metre is going to have to be ground out. Need to be precise. They have been so far, and right up to that point.
Still advantage. No. It's advantage over.
Interesting. Brady needs to be careful here. This is Cueto. He's got Miller up in support. Now Cueto's got some problems because he's been held up by Mulcrone and Sheridan.
There it is, let it come!
Almost did him a favour holding him up, because Miller had run away from him into support, gave him time to get back to the breakdown.
Back feet, tree!
Gwen Peel, Cipriani, Tui Tupu, lost it, picked up by the Moldovan.
Backwards again.
Dear me. Cipriani got himself through the keyhole to find Tui Tupu. Brady's on his shoulder. This is Mackenzie. Sprint for the line. Miller's up there with him if he can find him. Canadian players waltzed through the gap and then he tripped up himself. Seemed to fall over his own laces. There are still real options here. There are 2 men free on the left-hand side, and then Patterson falls over. It's like the pantomime horse. Peel, Cipriani, Miller. And then he is legitimately held up by the powerful Jeb Sinclair. Oh, that was rugged Canadian muscle to the full there. What a passage of play.
Yeah, Miller held up, never got the ball back to the ground. Comedy of errors, but then Cipriani does the right thing, gets his hands through the defensive line. And then Mackenzie, I think Brian Smith will be a bit disappointed with some of these tackle attempts, but does really well to find the gap again. Gets tripped up.
Sniper.
He's a good sniper, he reloaded.
He got Patterson a few minutes later as it comes out wide. This is a try all over. It only has to go. That's what happens when you have too many pigs in blanket just before Christmas.
It's a knockout with those ludicrously sized boots, those foam boots that they used to fly around on.
I've erased that from my memory, to be honest. But I was really surprised with Mackenzie. Remember when we seen him down at Oxford last year going the full length of the field?
Yeah.
I thought once he'd broken through then that was it, game over, try. But great counter-attack by Sale.
He was playing for London Welsh back then, in Welsh Red, in Oxford. Such was his work in ultimately an unsuccessful battle against relegation that Sale saw enough to bring him north.
Crouch!
Sadly for him, he was heading south as the try line beckoned.
Set! Yes, 9!
Defensive Irish scrum. Let's have a listen to this debate here. Might be a significant one.
Next time it's a card. Next time it's a card.
Is that the 3rd time that it's not been straight?
Well, actually,
maybe even more.
This time he was under the most pressure. Really good hit from Sale. As soon as the ball was shown, Straighten the legs.
Sorry, I had to talk.
They've now conceded 4 penalties and 2 free kicks, and there can't be any arguments about that.
And Delaney said it's his body shape that's upsetting the referee. I think it's the fact that it's going into the number 8's feet.
As a scrum half, it's an absolute nightmare for you, because you've got the choice. You can either annoy the referee, who is a referee, or you can annoy the hooker, who's a psychopath. Now, I remember putting the ball in a few times wrong for Richard Cockrell. He was not happy, and I'd rather annoy the referee than a hooker.
Actually, I was speaking to George Shooter about Jimmy Stevens. He's saying he's one of the few hookers that probably can reach for the ball and got that flexibility.
And on a devilishly difficult night for everyone involved, scrum halves and kickers, Cipriani eventually garners 3 points from that moment.
Tomas O'Leary has paid the price. Oh, brilliant take. These conditions.
Brady knocked it back. Combination of some London Irish changes. O'Leary, Hallivertow and Skivington, replaced by Allinson, Hagan and Rouse.
First offence.
This from Patterson. It's not just the fact that he holds a slippy ball that's swirling in the wind. It's the fact that he's had to position himself in enough time that the guys can lift, knowing that the ball might move at the last minute.
Okay, time off.
Playing for Cardiff last season before being nicked by Sale. His work this evening, he's now claimed over 50 balls in the line-out this season. It's not just the line-outs, it's the tackling and it's the running as well. It's the all-round game that Michael Patterson has brought to Sale this season.
He's joint second on the tackles tonight with 5. Do you know who's leading? Kobalas, the tight end.
That's what I said.
A few of those has been big hits. He's having a great game. Scrum's obviously going really well for Sale.
So Darren Allinson can put this in straight.
Yes, 9. Come this way.
Allinson, second baseman pretty much this season behind Tomas O'Leary. Relatively early opportunity to stake his claim this evening. Kobalas gets himself into shape to push the boat.
Coach! Bind! Set! Yes, 9!
Jeff Sinclair, the right side on that near side, putting his shoulder into it. Taken on by Eamon Sheridan. And then Hala Afia was taken off his feet and ended up in an awkward position.
It's time off. So it's Tim.
Trevor.
Can you just have a look at that and see if there's anything in that guy getting tipped up, please?
Okay, so we're having a look at the possible tip tackle. Okay, please stand by.
First time Trevor Fisher has been called into action this evening. Hala Afia, who ended up in a difficult position.
Just want them creeping off the scrum the 5 minutes, please.
The problem with these, and it's the same as what happened to Brian O'Driscoll playing for the Lions. It happened last week with Maffey against Gloucester, is you don't know the other guy's picking up the leg. That's the problem. And it looks bad in slow motion. It is bad. It's whether he drives him into the ground, I suppose, for Hala Afia. But you don't know the other guy's lifting the leg. And it's also a tactic to lift the leg, isn't it, to drive someone out of him more?
Yeah, Seymour's counterbalance is already, his centre of gravity is already shifted forward, so he's already got his weight right over his own shoulders, so he's more likely to go that way anyway.
The other man involved in the equation, by the way, is Andrew Fenby.
I don't think there's anything in that, personally. It looks worse.
The only consideration is, once he's up there, does Hala Afia drive him down, or does he just fall down with him? I think he just falls down. This
is the last of the replays that we're going to have another look at.
Because you'll get one 3D.
What's Trevor got to say for himself?
I'm not the 3D.
Tim, Trevor, I have a report for you.
Yeah.
At that last contact area, 2 white players lifted the legs. 11 white and 8 white.
Okay.
The more serious was 8 white, who tipped him considerably above the horizontal, brought him down to sort of ground, didn't drive him in, but it was still foul play.
Okay, I know we're saying it's because of where he's ended up. Are we in card territory?
Yes, we are in card territory.
And from what you've said, because he's gone above the horizontal, is that red card territory?
No, I would look in less than that.
2 players, 11 and 8, okay, taking the guy above the horizontal. This guy's is the most serious.
I don't know whether you can give a yellow card. If you deem that it's foul play and you've driven the man into the ground and not put him down,
I think it's an act of
I think it's the right thing to do. Absolutely, I think it's the right thing to do.
It could have gone either way. It could have been ignored or...
Well, the upshot is Chris Haller-Afia's 12th yellow card of his career, and this is how it came. This is at full speed, clearly.
I think it just shows things always look worse in slow motion, don't they?
Haller-Afia has gone for 10 minutes. Cleared away by Allinson.
Touched.
It's not been the start to this second half that the Irish would have been imagining. Conceded a further 3 points and now they've lost a man. Miller brings it forward.
That's a great kick from Cipriani. Brilliant kick. 40 metres of territory, ball on the floor.
Really smart kick chase as well by the forwards. They didn't get ahead of themselves, kept their defensive line integrity, made sure O'Connor didn't have a gap.
Humphries goes beyond Cipriani. He's back there to tidy it up. Took the decision to take the ball out. And I think that might be a Sale.
Touched and then gone back in. Touched this guy.
Oh, we're going back.
Because it's touched his leg.
Ah, yes.
It's gone back into the 22 after it's touched his leg. So the ground he got from his kick doesn't count. Good spot from Tim Wigglesworth. London Irish get a much more tasty attacking line out.
The question I would have with that is, did it hit a London Irish player on the way out? Anyway, matters not. It's Irish possession. Allinson taken on by Jeb Sinclair. Shirt occupied by Matt Garvey last season. Allinson. Here goes Cowan, former Worcester man. On the fringes of Scotland's Six Nations, thinking he was part of the autumn training squads. Best position the Irish have been in for a while. Allinson once more reloading.
How narrow that London Irish attacking line is. It's meant that Sale can just close up around the breakdown, put pressure on.
Do have Topsy Ojo far right, however, and he's beginning to interest himself now as Sheridan once more blasts it through. Allinson. Sinclair takes the hit. Oh, that was neatly done by O'Connor to Sheridan to Mulcrone. Tuiputu diving backwards. Sinclair. This time the hit comes in from Mills. Allinson again, patience from Irish with the ball in hand. Sheridan now adds a little bit more umph and muscle. It's taken behind him by Cowan. And they have shifted the ball up menacingly, that close to the try line. O'Connor, what's on his mind?
A warm bath, I think.
Hagan. The tactical insight from Austin Healy to come shortly, and they then can concede the penalty. The first time they've really pitched their tent that close to the try line, and they give the penalty away.
Good decision making close to the line. Decided not to fly in for the big tackle, let the man fall at his knees and then latched onto the ball. It's Dan Braid. As he comes, he could have gone in for the hit. No, I'll allow Kobalas to make the hit and I'll just latch onto the ball. Not only does he latch onto the ball, he wraps his arm through the legs, which means that anyone who comes to try and clear him out, he's got a really good purchase to stay in there with the man on the ground and make it obvious to the referee that he's entitled to attack the ball.
Taylor with the wind buffeting from his left to right, kept it straight, kept it accurate, finds Patterson, who's having another storming game.
They shortened the line out, which meant they didn't have numbers to drive, but then as soon as they went off the mark, you see the likes of Parade coming in.
Seymour smuggling it back to Peel, who goes on the snipe and is already up to the 10-metre line. Mackenzie trying to get up in support to his left, and then he's one of the first to rumble over the ball to win it back. Gaskell taken on by Mills. Not seen much of this ball in flight in open play this evening, but perhaps the opportunity here. Tui Tupu, Miller beyond him. This is Cueto. Brady's to his right, but Cueto opts for the boot, as does Ojo, and then it's picked up by Kobalas. Oh, it was a knock-on, and I think initially Tim Wigglesworth was happy to let that go, but Chris Sharp, the touch judge on this near side, thought otherwise.
He was right as well.
Brilliant break from Peel, but Smith again will be really disappointed in these conditions when the opposition don't want to kick. Don't give them a gap around the breakdown, but really well worked by Peel. I think Kobalas, when the ball came to him, was trying to control it with his foot.
Matt Parr has been replaced by the Welshman John Yap, former Cardiff and Welsh Test prop, on a season-long loan from Edinburgh. Yap on for the former Saleman Parr, who incidentally skippered the Jets team, Sale's second 15, when the likes of Cueto and Hodgson were coming through, so he has a little bit of Sale history. Meantime, the home team start to ring the changes. Andre Ostrakov, number 20, one of those on, as is Evian Lewis Roberts, who's making his 100th Premiership game. Henry Thomas alongside the Welshman Lewis Roberts, and the Fridge joins the likes of Stuart Turner and Barry Stewart in Sale's Cropping Hall of Fame. Premiership match number 100.
I think Kobalas has been absolutely superb. They don't lose a lot with Henry Thomas coming on the field.
So with a brand new front row, with Ostrakov on as well. That's Irish who have the next use of the ball. Ball was touched off Danny Cipriani. There'll be an Irish line out.
Not straight and square, you're pushing early. It wasn't straight and square, okay, on this side.
Interesting to hear Gary Gold saying that Lewis Roberts and Jones and Thomas would, for him, be Sale's first choice front row. And now on to wreak whatever mischief they can wreak in the final quarter of this match. Nick Rouse, one of Irish's recent replacements, holding that rolling maul up. This is Femby. He was part of the tackle on Seymour that led to Halat Afia's yellow card. A couple of minutes left on that one. Allinson, Humphreys, the Ulsterman finds the Australian O'Connor.
Just needed some support back on the inside, didn't he?
He's asking too much of Sinclair, and he was asking too much of himself.
London Irish's play in the final quarter of the field is baffling. playing a rat pattern with forward one-off runners is something that you do into the wind, not something you do with the wind. You want to make sure that the Sale defence around the fringes is tested slightly wider and moves from side to side on the field. And without guys like that on the pitch, you haven't got someone who can actually break the tackle line.
The other thing is that the runners who are coming are not timing their run, so they're not coming at full pelt. They've already shown their hand, shown that they're coming around the corner, and Sale are just waiting there with two big guys to smack them backwards.
So a little glimpse of Afisa Trevoranis, who's preparing to add his weight. This has been another area of frustration for the visitors this evening.
Let's come and have a look.
Afia comes back on. We suspect Trevoranis will come with him because Jeff Sinclair appears to be the man that Irish are preparing to take off. That change is happening now.
So you're staying straight, yeah? Let's go!
By the time we reach the next breakdown,
9!
Afia should be allowed to rejoin us, having just served his 12th Premiership sin bin.
Bind! Set!
It's a new contest here on this near side between Yap and Henry Thomas.
Yeah, there it is.
And that latest reset means that Irish are back up to a full complement of 8 in the pack.
Guys, come on, let's go.
So over the course of those 12 yellow cards, he spent 2 hours in the sin bin.
Crouch! Bind!
It's nearly 120 minutes.
It's not far off, is it?
Yes,
not far off 120 minutes.
No, straight out and across.
Problems that Irish have at the scrum remain. You can see why they wanted to spend big money. The first big money signing since they had that fresh injection of cash with the takeover on a South African World Cup winning tight head. CJ van der Linde will be around between now and the end of the season, but not tonight because of the calf that he damaged yesterday. Mike Mayhew's on, replacing Jimmy Stevens. Mayhew will add something to the scrum.
Just wonder whether that van der Linde injury might be a bit of a blessing. Because if they'd forced him in now, as long as it doesn't take too long to clear up, if they'd forced him in now and it hadn't worked and it wasn't the answer to all their problems, the psychological effect on the rest of the team that, well, actually it's not just going to work, we bring in a new expensive prop. Whereas now he can integrate himself into the team, learn all the line-out calls properly, and he can really make an impact the first time he pulls on the jersey.
Ian Goff is the man with his hands in the ruck. Yeah, he only turned up on Monday. He was watching training on Tuesday. I think it was their day off on Wednesday, which meant when he hurt his calf yesterday, that was the first time he'd trained with the team. To play in a Premiership match this evening would have been an enormous challenge for him. He is back home in London, perhaps watching this with us this evening, and Richard Whiffen on the left-hand side, and Brian Smith will be able to call on him once he's back on his feet. And that was won by Henry Thomas. May well see van der Linde's debut, because Irish play Gloucester next Sunday, and BT Sports cameras will be there. You can be with us.
Ball taken in, scrum white.
The blessing in disguise, however, because here comes another London Irish scrum.
I think that's something that needs to be addressed as well, the choke tackle. When you take the ball in and they take the maul to ground, you can't continue to hold onto the ball when you're no longer on your feet. And yet players still do, because they know that the referee's going to wait and probably turn it over as a scrum. But as they hold up here, this is all fine for me. This is really good defence. But now when it gets taken to the ground, you've got to let go of the ball and let it become a ruck. And if the ball doesn't get to the ground, fair enough. But if it does, let's have a fair rucking contest after that.
Tim, get the blue
don't want to
leg,
say I agree with Austin.
loose head, shoulders up, and then 18 won't go on his
You
arm.
get the sentiment.
So, with a band on his arm, we'll give him a gap.
There's the new front row of Mayhew, Yap and Hagen.
What did you say? You agree?
I said I don't want to say I agree.
But did you say I agree?
No, he didn't say that. Will Cliff, meantime, preparing to come on.
Crouch! Bind!
15 minutes to go. 15 points have all been scored by Sale so far. O'Connor. Dazzling footwork on the soggiest of pitches, on the most difficult of evenings weather-wise.
Nash just managed to recover it.
And Cowan with some evasive action. O'Connor's got cramp. He needs to get back on his feet quickly, and he needs to be there now, and Sale has wrestled it back. And then Irish have it, and Yap gives it some air. And this is Humphreys, and Sheridan quickly to the new man Trevor Arness, and Ojo was just outside him, and then he was driven back over the ball by that man Patterson again.
Ball is out, he's entitled to. The ball is out.
And O'Connor, this is the
Okay, send him on.
initial break by Trevor Arness.
It's a work of Patterson again, isn't it? Covering across, making the tackle, spinning his legs around, gets back to his feet, and then goes straight through the middle onto Topsy Ojo, drives him off. This is where they're shouting, because a player goes off his feet, but arguably the ball's out. There's no ruck there, so you're entitled to do that.
The player who was driving out the way went to ground first. The good thing about that, so often players will think, right, I must get the ball, I must get my hands on the ball. Leave the ball for the guys behind you to get. Just take the threat away, which was Topsy Ojo. You get the turnover.
Well, we talked about that game that CJ van der Linden may well make his debut in.
Crouch!
It'll be one of the games that covering over this holiday period.
The point we were making about problems at the scrum as they win the penalty here against Sale is that Gloucester is a team that's been struggling with their scrummage, so they can go in and really make an impact. The London Irish fans will be hoping.
In the end, James O'Connor's been forced to give way to Alex Lewington. Saying this week he likes the idea of staying, and they've got that extra cash now to make it worth his while. Not just South African tight head props that they've got their eye on. They want to bring in the best players the world has to offer. London is a sparkling lure if you fancy spending a bit of time in England's capital. And O'Connor would like to stay, but we were saying earlier it's about the World Cup and the commitment.
I think the other thing is that at fullback, even if your team aren't playing particularly well, you've still got a chance to shine. And we've seen that with the last round of Premiership games. He was the top metres carried, because the ball's always going to get kicked to you. And if you're that sort of player that's really good footwork, he's going to get opportunity to show the Australian Rugby Union what he can do.
Well, we're 12 minutes away from the final whistle, and finally London Irish have something to show for their efforts on the long trip north in the rain. First 3 points off the boot of the Ulsterman Ian Humphreys.
Great kick from Cipriani.
Frustration from Darren Allenson.
Advantage
Oh,
over.
hello. No. That would have been audacious.
That was worth a shot, wasn't it?
I think he thought that he was going to get the advantage, but it had expired in between the knock-on and the attempt at the spectacular drop goal. There goes Miller. Forward once again by Pack, who have been ever ready and ever willing to pilot forward this evening. Mark Jones, the latest to give it a go, one of the fresher legs. Here comes one of their stars tonight, Patterson.
He's going, isn't he?
underneath this, positioning himself, and not actually needed in the end. It's still Exiles possession. Allenson, Humphreys, Femby involved again. Allenson once more, all in close proximity. He had Jamie Hagan for support. Picked up instead by Goff from Osprey.
Massive overlap on the right hand side if they can get it through the hands, but again they're just that one-off runner.
This was Trevor Arness. Humphreys. This is Mulcrone riding tandem with Sheridan in Irish's midfield this season, and once again
he called more, but then as soon as he called more, Tui Tupou fell to the ground. So if it was a maul, it was a collapsed maul by Tui Tupou. Should have been a penalty to London Irish. If it's not, play on and make Tui Tupou move so they can play the ball.
Let's see who Sarah's got next to her.
Well, I have Wayne Peel next to me. But if all the hard work and the majority of the point scoring was done in the first half, what's this second half been about for you?
It's just about patience, really. I think obviously elements are against a strong wind and the rain's obviously come in. It's just about defence, really, defending hard and trying to stop them getting over the line.
Surprisingly, though, they're giving you a bit of space out there, aren't they? I mean, what do you need to do to best exploit that in the last 10 minutes?
It's difficult night, to be honest, to be moving the ball. I think it's just about keeping the ball now, obviously holding on to this 12 points. And that's about it, really.
How many stitches you got?
Oh, just the one today.
Thanks, Wayne.
Cheers, thanks.
He's 32 now, 6th season at Sale. He's got the security of a new contract and he's looking like he's enjoying it as much as ever. Snatching sleep when he can, what with the arrival of a new baby daughter recently. And he's done a job again tonight. That ball went backwards. Seymour was there quickly to sweep it up for Sale.
Tim Wigglesworth's got the sympathy right with the conditions.
Cueto, Mellor quickly to Mackenzie. And there was a bit of an all-in wrestle back on the 10-metre line.
There's a late tackle on Cueto, which he took offence to.
And Luke Pearce, the touch judge, was very, very close to that, and I'm sure he's going to have something to say to Tim Wigglesworth here. Let's see what Mark Cueto thinks. He'd like to involve Trevor Fisher, and we will involve TMO Trevor Fisher.
Cueto passed the ball, he got tipped. Not tipped as in a tip tackle, but just tipped onto his back. He landed on his back.
The guy passed the ball, it's what happened after that.
Okay, so have a look at the late tackle off the ball, yeah?
I'm not sure it was late, just have a look at it.
Oh, okay, all right, we'll have a look off the ball.
Again, it's a tough one, isn't it? Gets his leg underneath, comes out of shot there, so you don't quite see him. But
I don't think it's a question of whether it's a tip tackle. I think it's just whether it was late, because
it's not late, is it?
Well, no,
he
it's
just
not late when he
on
makes the initial contact, but the tip is late. He carries on when he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to carry it on. I think if Hello Affair is a yellow card, I think that probably is as well, potentially. Takes him past the horizontal.
I think it's not a yellow card.
Aaron Allenton, by the way.
Penalty maximum, surely.
Allenton is the man who's sweating on this decision. See one more replay before Trevor Fisher makes up his mind.
Tim, the actual contact was not late, but 23 White does continue with the actions and then puts the player on the floor.
Okay, so that sounds like penalty. Whereabouts are we? Is it on the 10 or?
The penalty is on the 10-metre line.
Okay, thank you. 23, leave it alone after you've played him.
That's the penalty.
Well,
He's been Sale's best player so far this season by common consent, Danny Cipriani. And he's played his part tonight.
You just continuing your loving with him. I don't think he's been Sale's best player. He's been one of. Braid, Patterson, Seymour.
What I do often is
Thomas.
speak to people who watch Sale week in, week out. They say he's been Sale's best player. I'm just reporting what they're saying.
One of.
If you'd like to argue with people who watch Sale week in, week out, I'll introduce you to him.
Next time, 9 once.
8 minutes to go.
It's a bit feisty, isn't it?
Otherwise I'm getting fed up with you.
Oh, good. It's working then.
Taken on by Thomas. This is Patterson. He's not been bad today.
Not as fed up as I'm getting with you, if I'm being perfectly honest. Getting right on my wick. God, you're not working tomorrow.
Danny Cipriani. Another pretty decent kick within 2 inches of the flag.
It's a brilliant kick.
Oh no, don't go that far, Ben. Steady.
That's a lovely, I know. But as a forward, when the basis of your game this year has been the driving play, you wouldn't expect to get another opportunity to drive with the conditions against you.
So here we go, the 2 tries so far, both scored by Sale, by Brady and Seymour, and they're looking for a third here.
Another shift drive, and London Irish put too many in to try and stop the initial part again. Can they reset? Where's Trevor Haynes come from? Is he illegal?
Seymour has possession.
Halafia knows that the ball's right next to him with Seymour. He's trying to hold it up. Knows this is Sale's last chance.
They get the penalty.
1-2.
Sale go to Welford Road 3 days after Christmas, then they've got a trip to Kingston Park to start the new year. Win this one and get something from the next 2 games, and Steve Diamond may well start to legitimately feel that the job in terms of banishing relegation going into 2014 has been done. We'll have a break because Jamie Hagan needs some attention. London Irish have got home games with Gloucester and Worcester over Christmas and the new year, and the importance of those 2 doesn't need to be highlighted for either Richard Whippen or for Brian Smith. So while we're talking about games in the future, let's just give you some official confirmation of what we've got to look forward to. That's Sunday at Kingsholm, Gloucester against Worcester.
Okay, guys.
Rugby tonight on Boxing Day.
On scrum blue.
Thanks for being in the audience. That's the email address, audience@rugbytonight.com. Thanks for joining in with the fun. 5 more minutes of fun here to go in the rain at the AJ Bell Stadium in Salford. Hagan back on his feet. Over to the Irish contingent when he joined this season. And Shane Geraghty is on. Final 5 minutes in place of Ian Humphreys. Skipper the side over the last fortnight of the Amlin Cup matches against Stade Francais.
This night.
Warcliffe, replacement scrum half. Scrum splinters and will go again.
Is it any better?
Slice of this match, dealing with this particular aspect of the game, the scrum. Sale being largely dominant. another lecture.
17 is throwing his backside out, and that's causing the problem, okay? That's the second one. You're throwing your backside out and come across. Time on.
Well described.
Penalty.
Backside goes out, the head must be going across the scrum.
There it is.
Sale just looking to run down the clock, asking for another scrum.
Well, they're currently 8th on 20 points. If they win this one, which they surely will now, they will go above Wasps and Exeter, up to 6th place, up to top half of the table, heading into Christmas. Irish one off the bottom, 10 points better off than Worcester at the moment. 1 point behind Gloucester and Newcastle. At the moment, getting nothing from this encounter. Newcastle, by the way, away to Exeter tomorrow. Exeter fresh from Dean Mumm's new 2-year contract extension. Wasps against Northampton, who are 60,000 quid worse off this week. Bath against Harlequins, and Saracens against Leicester with us on BT Sport. Completes tomorrow's fare in the Aviva Premiership. Gloucester, Worcester we've been talking about all night. That's on Sunday. Becoming just a tad tedious, this.
Enough, they go for the scrum again. They can get it in, get it set. London Irish now know they have to be squeaky clean. Sale will look for that penalty try at the least.
This time the penalty goes against Sale, despite the fact that it was John Yapp who appeared to hit the floor first. And Garrity chooses to run with it. Only fired down beyond the 10-metre line. Mackenzie to Miller. Still got lots of running in his legs, lots and lots of running. Held up by Fenby. Brady was up in support. Approaching the final 60 seconds.
Breaking play, just gives us a little chance to talk about the man of the match. There's been some good performances up front for Sale. Tommy Taylor I thought was great, Kogalas as well, but the man who told us at half-time it was going to be a tough shift in the second half has done exactly that. 10 carries, 10 tackles, countless line-out steals as well. He's stolen in the mauls and breakdowns. My Aviva Premiership man of the match is Mike Patterson.
He's been outstanding today, as he has been all season.
Yeah, thanks to
Well, the last 5 minutes of this match have rather passed by in a blur of nothingness, I'm afraid to say. Not an awful lot has happened.
38.
Sale, in retrospect, will say their hard work was done in the first 40 minutes, and so it's proved.
To be fair to London Irish, the win's certainly not as big as it was towards the end of that second half.
Time nearly up. It's been a real grapple in the rain. And the hard graft done in the first 40. Seen Sale home. to another valuable win. Cipriani set up the opening try, finishes proceedings on a Friday evening. He and his mates and Steve Diamond's bunch are up into the top half of the table. Early lessons for the Irish. Money can't buy you everything, not just yet. Can't buy them a win. It may well yet come for Brian Smith's team. It will come for Brian Smith's team, but not this evening. They have been well beaten tonight by Sale, who are moving into the top 6 and looking better and better and stronger.
Just looking more and more comfortable, aren't they? I mean, tough conditions for both sides, but just Sale played it better.
Mind. Have to get this one going again. French rugby is all about scrum in many ways.